stands in solidarity with Jamaica following the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. The Foreign Secretary has spoken with her Jamaican counterpart to reaffirm our commitment to support recovery efforts. We've activated our crisis centre in London to assist British nationals in Jamaica, deployed response teams to the region, and are mobilising up to £2.5 million in emergency humanitarian aid to help Jamaica rebuild in the wake of this disaster.
I thank the Minister for her response. The people of Jamaica have been subjected to the fiercest storm to have taken place anywhere in the world this year. The statistics are shocking. I know that we are at the rescue and recovery stage, and it will be some time for all fatalities or injuries to be established, but I am sure the whole House will want the people of Jamaica and other islands in the region to know that they are in our thoughts and prayers. Can I take it that the personnel on site in the region, because we don't yet know whether there will be further damage to other overseas territories and other people as well in the region, but is she satisfied that we have adequate facilities in the area to give real support at the early stages, particularly with the restoration of power and water supplies to avoid disease and further distress? And furthermore, will there be further tranches of financial assistance available, I presume, from our overseas development budget?
We will support in the way that is needed. We do have people pre-positioned alongside practical assistance such as shelter kits and other necessary immediate response equipment. I visited myself the response centre in Antigua, which supports the region. But he is absolutely right as well that this is not over, and that the hurricane, although diminishing in ferocity, it was a level 5 when it hit Jamaica, which is I think it's the fiercest hurricane ever to hit in history. But it's still at the moment at 3, which is severe. And we're keeping in very close contact with our overseas territories in particular, but also it looks as if the hurricane may pass over Bahamas, so we need to be alive to further developments. We have Royal Navy presence in the region in the form of Trent, and we have expertise there who are expert in this initial humanitarian response. We also have our consular team in Miami ready to respond and to support British nationals, and we know there are very, very many of them in Jamaica.
My Lord, I'd like to thank the Noble Baroness, the Minister, for an update on actions that His Majesty's Government are taking in relation to Hurricane Melissa. But, my Lords, I understand that the FCDO website on notification went live yesterday for UK visitors to Jamaica to notify the Department of their presence. It was known, my Lords, at the weekend that Melissa was active and was going to be hitting Jamaica very shortly. Notwithstanding the fact, these facts, how are visitors to Jamaica able to notify the department if there's very little Wi-Fi and very little, only very intermittent signal?
No, I mean, he's absolutely right. This is a problem. We do encourage British nationals to register their presence. We have also a 24/7 telephone access available as well. And we obviously have our team in Kingston. But he's right, the situation is incredibly difficult. There is local advice issued by authorities in Jamaica, which we encourage British nationals to adhere to. We did update our travel advice on Thursday about the likely strength of Hurricane Melissa, and this is the hurricane season in the Caribbean. These events are not unprecedented, sadly, but I do think that the severity and the impact of this particular hurricane is something greater than we have seen before.
My Lord, I ask today words condolences and for the devastating impact on the communities there, and share with the Noble Lord the regards from all benches in this House. The Minister stated correctly that this is an event which is even worse than the 2017 hurricanes that affected the Caribbean. I supported the previous government's work to change the OECD rules on overseas development assistance for Caribbean and middle-income nations to receive short-term ODA assistance hit by a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. The question now is not our intent or our support for the communities in Jamaica, but the scale of which the UK does it. In 2018, the previous government, before the development assistance cuts of that administration, allocated £57 million plus £3 million match funding, £60 million. Now with the current government's ODA cuts, can the Minister assure me that the £2.5 million is only the start? And what is the current size of the UK's humanitarian crisis reserve pool?
So I would encourage the Noble Lord, and I don't want this to sound at all patronising, but the assistance that we're able to give now is very different to that which we may have been able to give 10 years ago or so. Because yes, there is the immediate response, which will take the form of ODA, and we do have a crisis reserve, which is where it needs to be for this stage in the year. But we've also been able to work on insurance and on construction of... I was at a hospital in Jamaica very recently, which we've been able to support the construction and make it something that's much more able to withstand the impact of a hurricane. It has generators, it has its own energy supplies, and some of that is renewable, and it's able to carry on functioning even in the most difficult of circumstances. So the infrastructure is becoming more robust. We've invested alongside others in parametric insurance so that the payouts are very, very fast to enable the government of Jamaica and other islands too to be able to respond much more quickly than they would have been able to previously. His points about OECD and ODA graduation, I think for small island developing states, are really important. There is a problem with graduation. We see this with Montserrat at the moment, and it's something we're very keenly looking at to make sure that countries are treated fairly, because at the moment the way these things work often disadvantages countries with very small populations.
My lords, I'm sure the Noble Baroness, the Minister, knows how very well the Jamaican government prepared for the coming hurricane season, knowing the absolute once-in-a-lifetime scale of the current hurricane that has hit. But what additional work is Her Majesty's government doing to help Jamaica and other Caribbean islands prepare for the future? Because it's preparation, not repair, that helps nations like Jamaica survive these events. And also, what work are you doing with the diaspora, of which I am a member, to help our mother island, as it were, recover from such a devastating hit?
I think that's a really important point. And my friend, the Foreign Secretary, spoke to Kamina Johnson-Smith, the Foreign Secretary in Jamaica, on Monday before Melissa hit, to have exactly this conversation. I know, because I've spoken with Ms Johnson-Smith myself in Jamaica, how the extent to which the government there is understanding of what it needs to do, and the preparation that is made within the region is dramatically different now, because there is so much more known, and our capability of predicting these events is enhanced, and the capability within the region is really quite impressive. That doesn't mean that they're able to handle this on their own, of course not, and we have a responsibility that we take incredibly seriously, not least because he says there are such strong community links and people-to-people links, particularly with Jamaica, and we will continue to work alongside the government there to make sure that they get what they need to be able to get through this initial period, which it's fast moving. We're assessing the damage, and we'll do what we need to do now, but this is something that we're likely to have to stay close to the government of Jamaica working on for some time.
Well, my Lords, can I ask the government what they are prepared to do in relation to assisting children in particular. The noble lady will know that tragically, whenever these hurricanes hit, it is women and children who are affected most severely. And also, can the noble lady tell us what work they're doing on the longer term to build resilience, to support the amazing work that's being done in the Caribbean, where the whole Caribbean works together to prepare for these hurricanes, which regrettably are coming faster, heavier, and every hurricane is getting bigger and worse.
Well, I think the point about the increased frequency and severity of these extreme weather events is really important, particularly as we approach COP. I know it's something that leaders in the Caribbean and elsewhere want to see UK leadership continue to address that. We work alongside governments across the Caribbean, and Jamaica, I have to say, takes a lead in much of this, with CRIF and with the work that we're doing on finance to get, as I said earlier, particularly about insurance, making sure that countries are able to take out insurance, and we've supported the payment of premiums and we've supported the negotiation of policies, but that they pay out very, very quickly, within weeks of an extreme weather event, and that there isn't the need to go and have all the usual assessment and all the rest of it, that if a weather event is triggered, that money gets to where it's needed as quickly as possible. I saw that in Grenada, where farmers were able to rebuild very, very quickly within the season to enable them to support themselves and continue to with their livelihoods. You know, these things are the consequence of long-term partnerships, and I thank my noble friend for the work that she's done to make this possible over the years.
My Lords, I was the Minister when Hurricane Irma and Maria hit, and I'm pleased and I support the government's response, particularly the military response. But I want to go to the medium term and the long term, and in paying tribute to the noble lady, Baroness Scotland, for the work she did in coordination with the Commonwealth. What coordination is currently being done with the emergency response, SEDEMA, across the region? And secondly, the previous government set up the Caribbean Infrastructure Fund for exactly the long-term development that was needed. That winds down in 2026, but it was set up exactly to help build that infrastructure which is needed across the Caribbean.
I mean, I compliment the work of SEDEMA because I think that they are crucial when these things happen, it is that locally coordinated response. They understand the routes between islands better, they understand the community, they have very strong connections, they know how to get things done far more quickly than any multilateral international agency would just showing up. So I echo what he says about that, and we will continue to work with our partners internationally as this unfolds, and we are able to assess exactly what is needed. But it's absolutely vital that it's the government of Jamaica who is in charge of this, and they know what is needed, and that they are able to hold the ring on this. They're more than capable of doing that, and we'll work closely with them. On the issue that he raised about the Caribbean Fund, obviously I'm looking at the moment very closely about our allocations for the next few years, very conscious of the impact that resilience funding, really, I think if it has been able to achieve so far. And that's one of the reasons that hopefully the infrastructure in the region will be able to withstand these events far, far better, maybe not completely, but better than it has been able to in the past. And I will keep that in mind.
Lords, overnight in Jamaica, hospitals have been destroyed and need medical supplies and temporary clinics now to treat existing patients and those injured by the hurricane. Thousands of homes have been flattened and residents are now sleeping in their cars. I just had a call this morning telling me this. My Lords, Britain has close links with the people of Jamaica, and in the past they came to help rebuild Britain during the Windrush era. Britain called, they came. So will the government react with urgency and not only send financial aid, food and medical supplies, but also vital building materials and resources, and also construction personnel who can help rebuild the homes and hospitals that are so desperately needed now?
Well, the noble Baroness puts it incredibly powerfully, as I would expect her to. And it really matters that people in Jamaica are not expected to live in the hardship that she described for any longer than is absolutely necessary. Of course, we will stand with the government of Jamaica as it responds initially, but also as it then looks at what it needs to do to rebuild and reconstruct. But as I say, it is really important that it is the government of Jamaica who leads this. I know they will do a good job, and we will stand with them to work alongside to make sure that they are able to get what they need when they need it, and to make sure that the island can be rebuilt into the amazing place that we all love.
My Lords, that concludes the time allotted for the private notice question. We will allow a moment for the Chamber to rearrange itself before we return to the report stage.